Welcome to the monthly rewind. Please type your name and district in the chat box to sign in. Here's our team. I am Heather Morris. I have Wendy Pine here with me and Alicia Burry. We're going to start out with our leadership tip. And this month it is 5 ways to motivate employees. It's that time of year where everyone is getting tired. They're tired of working, tired of their coworkers, and tired of their job. How can we make it through the rest of the year? Try these tips to motivate your employees, and hopefully it will be smooth sailing to the end of the year. You want to train your employees. People want to learn to do their job well and learn new skills to help their careers. Employees who receive thorough training feel as if you are investing in them and their careers. This motivates them to engage better with customers and other employees and can also increase the likelihood they will stay. Share positive feedback. It's great to feel fulfilled by your work. In fact, it's one of the key job satisfaction factors. Satisfaction in your work can come from a variety of places, from knowing you made the perfect cup of coffee to saving a house by removing a menacing tree. And if your customers express appreciation for these things, be sure to share that feedback with your employees. Letting your employees know they made someone's day or more makes them feel good and gives them a deeper connection to your business. The psychology behind this is clear. Positive feedback helps your employees feel valued in their roles. When someone feels valued, they are more motivated to continue performing at their highest levels. Data reveals they are less likely to quit their current job within the next year. Make the workplace fun. No one wants to stand around in a dingy, boring space for hours on end. Having an aesthetically pleasing, well-lit, functional, and fun space makes work a lot more pleasant. The first step is to make sure things are well kept and that you have updated working equipment. It also means keeping things clean and nice looking. Sprucing up your space doesn't have to be expensive. Try featuring local artists or picking up interesting pieces at a flea market. All these little touches will make things a lot more enjoyable for your employees and, by proxy, your customers. Allow a healthy level of autonomy. Research suggests that workers who experience higher levels of workplace autonomy also report higher levels of job-related well-being, specifically increased flexibility as to where work takes place, such as the office versus home setting, their schedule, their pace of work, and the order in which tasks are completed all contributed to higher levels of employee satisfaction. If you're unsure how to begin incorporating autonomy into your organization's workflows, start slowly. You don't need to go from one extreme, such as a fully independent employee, to the other extreme, such as a completely autonomous employee, overnight. There are, however, some easy to implement strategies you can use to give your employees more ownership of their work. There's also a psychological factor of feeling like they're trusted and respected for their work. Recognize employee strengths and give them more responsibility in those areas. Promote team collaboration. It's beneficial for employees to feel a sense of teamwork and collaboration since employees typically spend about 40 hours a week interacting with one another. A few methods to promote team collaboration are planning team bonding activities and teaching conflict management skills. Not only do team building activities offer a fun break from your day-to-day routine, but they're an excellent way to motivate employees. Whether you opt for weekly happy hours or the occasional game night, these can help strengthen communication skills, improve problem-solving abilities, and increase overall morale. Teaching conflict management skills can help employees resolve challenges within their teams effectively. This can help team members communicate more openly, increase collaboration, and increase group productivity. All right, here is today's agenda. First, we'll talk about policy updates and news. Then we'll have a CEP mini lesson. We'll discuss important deadlines and upcoming classes. And last, we'll have our Let's Celebrate section. Does anybody feel like this? If you do, no worries. We're here to get you to the end of the year. Okay, so for our policies and updates, we have FSMC renewals due March 1st. Okay, these are food service management contracts. If you currently have one and you're having to renew, don't wait. You want to provide all required attachments, and there's a checklist you can reference. But some of those attachments would include the budget, any invoices that you've paid, like the most recent invoices that you've paid, and your USDA Foods reconciliation. If you don't include some of these items, TDA will turn the renewal back to you and ask for those. You want to include the methodology for any fee increase that's listed. This would be based on the CPI, which is the Consumer Price Index, and that number would be from a month between July and December of last year. And the CPI that you would want to use would be the food away from home. Make sure that you're double checking your math because TDA said that they're seeing lots of math errors. So run the numbers, run them again, have someone else look at them, make sure that they're right. Also, you want to make sure that you're including all fees for a fixed rate to show that there's no duplicative costs. And just a reminder that you want to list all schools on this renewal, even if it's a school that's a future opening school. You want to make sure that it's on there because if you're trying to add it later, it would be a material change and you would have to rebid. Okay, our USDA Foods updates. Our surveys are due March the 1st. This is your annual survey, like for the brown box or direct ship items, but it's also your processing surveys. And farm to school, I know that we told y'all that it would be in favors this year, and that is not correct. TDA kind of backed off of that, so it's going to be in TXUMPS, which is how we've done it previously. Okay, so to find your surveys, you would, in the FDP module in TXUMPS, you would go to contracting entities and then surveys. And then you would just select each survey that you're ready to complete. So notice they're listed by category. So beef, dairy, fish, fruits, and then your processing surveys. Okay, so once you complete your processing surveys, you want to make sure that you're going back into your contract packet and you're updating that entitlement amount for processing that's listed right here. You want to make sure that are updating that for what you actually allocated in processing, because if there's a difference, you're going to leave money sitting there that you can't use, and you don't want to do that. Just for your information, we are transitioning from TXUMPS to, it's called Web-Based Supply Chain Management, or WBSCM for short. They did start a pilot program. None of us are on it. So here is the timeline that TDA has set for this rollout for statewide. So where this pink arrow is, that is where we are. We're February to April. And all that is TDA is collecting information for who is going to be a user in WBSCM. Okay, that's where we are. You're going to be getting emails on it. It does apply to you, so please complete the surveys that they're sending you. Let's see, the surveys will be sent February 28th, so next Tuesday. And all of these notifications are going to the contact that's listed in your FDP packet. And just a reminder, we currently do allow food service management company staff to be in TXUMPS. But moving forward in WBSCM, FSMC staff, they're not even allowed to have a log on. So make sure that if the contact person is currently an FSMC staff member, that you're getting with them, that you get the information so you can submit what you need to, and don't turn in any FSMC employees. And stay tuned to Region 11. We'll continue to have updates and trainings moving forward to get us all on the same page and ready to go. National School Breakfast Week is coming up. It's March 6th through the 10th. There are resources available on Square Meals. And if you need any ideas for some theme days, they have some listed here. They sound pretty cute. Programming parfaits, wacky robot waffles, STEM scones, fuel up French toast, and battery charging breakfast pizza. The financial report is currently available and it is due March 31st. Okay, we have to do this every year and it's based off of your previous fiscal year's information. And this is all the audited books that you have. So you can find the report. We have a link to it there and some additional resources. We will be conducting a training for all of the spring reports next Wednesday, March the 1st. So join us. It will be virtual. You can register for that class through OnTrack. I'm sure that you guys have heard that USDA has released their proposed rule and it's currently open for comments. Comments will close on April the 10th. And we do encourage you to look at these rules, really think about how it's going to impact your program and go in and make comments on it because USDA, they really do look at these comments and they will make changes. So we haven't seen many proposed rules not change through the comment period and then come out different for the final rule. So if you need any tips for submitting effective comments, we do have a link to some tips here, as you can see. So let's just go through quickly the main things that are in this proposed rule. Previously, we did not look at sugars in our programs, and that is in the proposed rule that we will be limiting added sugars. So there's two phases. Phase 1 would just limit on specific products like yogurt and cereal, which is currently what CACFP does, if you're familiar with that program. And then phase 2 would be overall weekly limits across all meals, and it would only address added sugars, not the natural sugars. All right, on the milk, there are, they have some options listed. Okay, one would be just to limit flavored milk to only grades 9 through 12. And then the other option would be to allow it for all ages, but to limit the amount of sugar that's in those milks. And again, both options would limit the amount of sugar that's allowed in those milks. And when we looked at it, I think it was 10 grams per 8 fluid ounces of added sugar. And when we kind of looked at what we currently have, it's around 12 grams. And it does kind of depend on your dairy, on the dairy that's used in the processor, but it's not a huge difference than what we already have. So it's not as bad as what it sounds. Okay, whole grains. Again, there's two options proposed. And the first one is to just keep doing what we're doing, which is 80% of all grains offered through the week must be whole grain enriched, with the other 20% just being enriched. The second option is a little simpler, and that just says that they're going to allow schools to serve non-whole enriched grain foods like refined enriched pasta or flour tortillas just one day per school week. So that one's a little bit easier to administer and track. So, but if you're used to the 80% and that's not a problem for you and you like that one, then, put that in the comments. Okay, and then last is the sodium, and it's pretty much in line with what we're already doing, and the sodium, the phases that we already were aware of through the transitional standards. So it's just going to be a 10% reduction each year for breakfast and for lunch. All right, new guidance on unanticipated school closures. There's two options here. The first option is to operate SSO or SFSP. SSO is the preferred method because you can backdate it. So SFSP, if you want to operate during an unanticipated school closure, you have to have approval before you serve a meal. With SSO, you can serve the meal and then go back and ask for approval. The school must still be area eligible in order to operate, and non-congregate feeding is allowed only through April 30th. TDA is continuing to ask USDA for this waiver, but it hasn't been approved. So as of now, it's only through April 30th, and weekend service is not permitted. So if you do have to do this, recently we had some ice storms that schools closed for, but we also had some tornadoes or just bad weather, maybe some power outages, and school was closed. If you do want to feed students during things like that, you can. You just need to notify TDA through this form. And it doesn't have to be done prior to feeding, but at some point you need to submit it. Okay, the second option for operating during an unanticipated school closure is through the CACFP at-risk program. But again, you must be on this program to operate, and it's not really as good of an option as SSO. So non-congregate feeding under this option is not allowed, and enrichment must still occur. However, you can serve on the weekends. So you kind of have to take the good and the bad and decide which one is best for you. And again, if you do this, you do have to complete the unanticipated school closure notification form. Okay, our PLE exemption. So CEs with a 0 or positive balance can opt not to raise lunch prices and not to do the PLE tool, just like in previous years, but the date has changed. So before that, 0 or positive balance was December 31st. It has changed to June 30th. Okay, so June 30th of 2022, if your balance was 0 or a positive number, then you don't have to raise your lunch prices next year. We do recommend that everyone complete a PLE tool though, because if you ever go negative, then you're going to have to complete one and you have to go back and complete it in order to do the current one. So that is all for our news, policies, and updates. And now Wendy is going to give us a CEP mini lesson.
All right, so we're going to talk about the community eligibility and talk a little bit more about what it entails. So CEP simplifies the process by which children access healthy school meals. So traditional school meal programs require schools to determine eligibility for free or reduced price school meals on an individual basis. CEP does not require this extensive paperwork burden and eliminates the need to collect money from students. Students enjoy free healthy meals at school. Parents do not have to fill out the household applications. They don't have to worry about refilling meal accounts. And schools streamline the meal service operation and reduce paperwork and administrative costs. This is a great option. One important aspect of CEP is the identified student percentage. So let's talk about that. CEP requires a minimum of 40% of students in a school to be identified. Identified students are directly certified free. So that would be SNAP, TANF, Medicaid, etc. This does not include students eligible for free meals with a household income application. So what are the CEP requirements for schools? So there's several rules. First of all, we use March data to determine if a CE meets minimum 40% identified students based on enrollment. So this is not the same as a free and reduced percentage. This is direct certified. Schools need to agree to serve no-cost meals to all students for up to 4 consecutive years in all approved school campuses. They agree to cover with non-federal funds any costs providing meals to students above amounts provided in federal meal reimbursements. They do not collect household applications, they need to collect and maintain a count of breakfast and lunches served to students at the point of sale. So we have an example just to kind of help you walk through and see if it's would make sense for you. So we'll say Shady Oaks Elementary has 100 students enrolled. 50 of these students are determined to be in the identified student group. So Shady Oaks has an ISP of 50%. The ISP, which is 50%, is multiplied by a USDA factor. This is currently 1.6. So this 1.6 multiplier approximates free and reduced percentage if applications were still collected. So we'll take 50% ISP times the 1.6 comes out to 80%. So what this means for Shady Oaks Elementary is that 80% of the meals will be claimed at the free reimbursement rate and 20% of the meals will be claimed at the paid reimbursement rate. At the end of the month, if the school counted and served 10,000 reimbursable meals, then the claim will look like this. 8,000 are claimed under free, 2,000 are claimed under paid reimbursement. So an ISP direct certification percentage of at least 62.5% of students will result in 100% of the meals claimed at the free rate, which is the maximum rate. Well, that's ideal. A school or a group of schools must have an ISP of at least 40% to be on the program. In order to break even financially, state agencies recommend at least 55% ISP just to be financially viable. So let's look at an example is if you had a really high ISP. So if most of your kids are directly certified, so let's say if 80% of your students are directly certified, an 80 ISP times 1.6 would put you at 128, which is way above 100%. So the higher, the better. There are several advantages of CEP. First of all students receive free breakfast and lunch, which eliminates the over-identification issue. So the children aren't worried about, well, they must be free because they eat lunch. Just everyone eats for free. We've got improved nutrition to students at risk. There's a potential for attendance rate and test score improvement. We've seen that in research. The paperwork level is reduced. It simplifies meal counting and claiming and typically increases breakfast and lunch participation. It's a great program. There are a few disadvantages. We'll talk about that. So there's potential financial issues for the school district if the ISP is less than 62.5. The school food authority is not collecting paper applications, which are used to determine individual student economic status for special fee waivers like AP tests, sports, extracurricular fees, computer fees, that sort of thing. And it may be harder to go back to regular claiming and counting should economic conditions improve and direct certification percentages drop. With that being said, we do recommend that districts implement what's called a socioeconomic form as part of their enrollment process so that they can collect that needed socioeconomic data. And you can require families to fill out a socioeconomic form, whereas you cannot require someone to fill out a household income application for free and reduced. So there's a way around it. All right, and how does a school district apply for CEP? So there's a few steps. First of all, we need to evaluate your ISP and make sure you're even eligible. So when you complete your March CEP report, we'll check your ISP percentages. You'll talk to your Region 11 consultant now if you're actually thinking about doing CEP, and we can help you get good numbers for your CEP report. Like we said, you need at least 40 on the ISP, but ideally it would be 62.5% are directly certified in your district, or you can do individual schools. You don't have to do an entire district. You'll want to opt into CEP through the SMP contract application by June 30th. And then that will initiate what's called a CEP SAW, which we at the service center will conduct an analysis to make sure that your ISP fits and everything works. Also, I want to draw your attention to the screenshot of the Square Meals page. This is how you can find more information about CEP. It's under National School Lunch Program, and it's under eligibility and verification, and then you'll look at special provisions. So CEP, it's community eligibility provision. So that's considered a special provision. So that's where you'll find more information on that. All right. And finally, there's a really neat chart on Square Meals that TDA has put together. It's called the CEP implementation chart. It's great. It shows you all the processes that are required, due dates, and then how to get information or where to locate those. And it also tells you about what kind of records you need to maintain, what's required to implement the program. So it's an excellent resource if you are interested or are currently running CEP. And if you have any questions, please let us know and we're here to help. Now I'll be passing on to Alicia for important deadlines.
Hi, let's get into this. First up, you have until February 28th to submit your board-approved multi-region co-op local agreement, if that's what you're participating in. Also, be on the lookout for the WBSCM JOT form that's coming out from TDA. This is the new system we're transitioning to instead of using TXU-MPS for USDA food. So they're really collecting your administrator credentials, and those should be starting to be sent out on this date. On March 1st, your annual and processing surveys are due in TXU-MPS no later than 5 p.m. that day. The CEP report will also open that day, but don't start on it yet. And then if you are contracting with an FSMC, the renewal is due on March 1st as well. The CEP report will be due on March 21st. The financial report will be due on March 31st. And if you're participating in SFSP over the summer, that application deadline is April 15th. Otherwise, for SSO, the application deadline is May 31st. All right, let's talk about some upcoming classes. Again, we're going to be hosting a virtual training on March 1st to go over the financial and CEP reports. We're also going to dive into the PLE tool and adult meal calculator so you can get yourself prepared for next school year. On March 30th, we'll host our next monthly Rewind webinar. And then April 12th, we'll have an in-person Spring Directors update. So be sure to join us for that. The next time we're testing ServSafe will be April 19th through 21st, and look for the sign up for that soon. We're working on getting that up on our website. Our last monthly rewind of the year will be May 23rd, and then our summer conference is set for June 7th through 8th, and we will be sending out some more information with that shortly. Hey, let's celebrate. There are so many amazing photos of the promotions you guys did for Valentine's Day. So I just want to highlight a few of them. This one comes from Denton ISD, a little Asian theme here with a cherry smoothie. So that looks so pretty. And then in Capel, they were a smoothie operator and they had some strawberry smoothies. This is not Valentine's related, but Granbury did recently introduce a tamale with red sauce, which looks delicious. And that's going to debut in their elementary and middle schools. Alito wanted you to fall in love with Valentine's with berries. And so they did this berry medley. And then I don't know if you can see this in the bottom photo, but they cut watermelon into heart shapes. It's so cute. Grapevine Colleyville did a literary lunch where their chef paired meals with books. And so this one is the Pete the Cat in the Pizza Party book, and they serve pizza. And then in Van Alstyne, they have a smoker, which is so exciting. So this is an example of the smoked beef at the bottom with a baked potato. They're just buying larger pieces of meat and smoking them overnight and then shredding them. And it's supposed to reduce sodium levels and give that nice smoky flavor. They can also do hot dogs and other types of meat, just to impart some flavor without using sodium. So great job. And if you wish that your photo was in this slideshow, please be sure to reach out to Patty to send her all of your promotions, and we'll get them in here. What questions do you have? Feel free to unmute and ask us now, or you can type them in chat. Thank you so much for attending the webinar. We'll stay on the line for a few minutes for any additional questions, but otherwise you're free to leave the meeting.